So in the last class, we have been seeing the important teachings of Lord Krishna on Buddhi Yoga. So when Lord Krishna changes his stance from philosophy to practicality, he keeps on telling Arjuna about how he should act. So the two verses which we saw last week was the one where Lord Krishna tells Arjuna to transcend above three gunas and not to be freed from the dualities of life, and always to be stabilized in sattva, and not to worry about going on acquisitions and preservations, yoga and kshema, which are the two channels throughout our life which we dissipate our energy. And after that, we saw the shloka on Yava Nadda Udapane, like a self-realized person understands that which is the real source of happiness. And when the person realizes that the source of happiness is the self, there is no need for us to go to the external world to find the happiness. But until the time we don't realize that happiness lies within, like how you go to a small pond to get water when you have no water in your house, you will be searching outside for the sources. So once you understand that you are the source of happiness, and happiness is a choice that you can make, which is not dependent on any external conditions, and purely it's a choice of yours, then you will never look at the external world in search of or in pursuit of happiness. So let's see this shloka, which is the 47th shloka, and this is a very important shloka and very popular shloka. And if you have to sum up the teaching of Bhagavad Gita in a single verse, most of them would point to this verse. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma paleshu kadachana ma karma palaheturbuhu ma te sangostva karmani. Here he tells us 4 points. Karmanye bhadikaraste. Karma, wherever you get, just attribute it to action. Karma is action. So he's saying that you have adhikara. Adhikara is duty. You have duty to act.
Right is to work on.
Yeah, uncle?
But
okay, he says that you
sorry,
have...
sorry, it was unmuted. Sorry, I'm sorry, it was unmuted.
Okay. So he says that you have right to act, but you don't have rights for the fruits of action. Phalam is the fruits. So you don't have rights for the fruits of the action. So he's telling, Ma karma pala hetir buhu. Don't be desirous of the fruits of the action. And for not to be desirous about the fruits of the action, he's saying that Mate sangostva karmani. Sangha is attachment and asanga is detachment. He is saying don't get attached to the results of the action. So the 4 points he conveys here is the right to work. You have right to work, but you don't have right for the fruits of the action. You don't start work with a desire for the results of the action. You get detached from the results
Good evening,
of the
Abhita.
action. Hi, Ravti. So we will see this verse in detail. What is desire? Desire is here the desire is saying is not for action but for the fruits of the action. So the desire here which Lord Krishna is referring to is anticipation of reward, action motivated by desire for reward, which makes an action fruitive, like looking for the fruits of the action. And therefore, when you look for the fruit, it creates a bondage, it creates an attachment. Even so, one who desires engages in the performance of austerities and penance as a means of sacrificing these desires. One should not perform the penance or the austerities with the hope of obtaining the reward. Otherwise, these activities also will become fruitive as well. Actions performed without desire as a matter of duty are full of wisdom. Therefore, the wise are not bound by desire or rewards. So what we have seen is desire is the anticipation of reward for the action that we have performed. And action with desire creates bondage because we are looking for the fruits of action. And actions without desire, you will get some result. That means you will get a fruit, but you are not attached to the fruit. Every action will have a result. But when you do it without being attached to the fruits, it doesn't create you bondage. But when you do it attached to the fruits of the action, it creates bondage. So Arjuna was therefore advised by Lord to fight as a matter of duty without attachment to the results. His non-participation in the battle is another side of attachment. Such attachment will never lead to the path of salvation. Any attachment, positive or negative, is a cause for bondage. And if you don't act, that is also sinful, meaning that either he runs away and does whatever thing he wants without fighting, that is also not correct. And the way he is telling now, being attached to the fruits of the action, he is getting all that mental disturbances. That is also not correct. If you are not doing the duty that you are ought to do, that is called as inaction. So escaping from the duty is also sinful. Therefore, fighting as a matter of duty was the only auspicious path of salvation which Arjuna has now. So he is instructing him to follow the 4 things that he has told. So let's watch this video, which tells about the science of action and the result. The general teaching here in this shloka was, have right to act, have not the rights to the results, do not perform result-oriented action, and do not give up action. That means don't get attached to the results of the action. And because we have asked not to have desire for the action, do not run away that I'm not going to act. Both of them will lead you to mental agitations. It will not give you happiness in any way. Let's just discuss. What do you think is better, multitasking or single tasking? From your experiences of working, what do you think?
I think single tasking should be done. It is better.
Okay.
You can concentrate more and you can, complete that without any distraction. But nowadays, younger generation is considers multitasking as more important than single tasking.
Okay. How about others, the younger generation? What do you think? Is multitasking better or single tasking better?
I feel multitasking is better in this fast-paced life. If we do one job at a time, we are gone.
Okay,
at least 2-3 jobs in
let
hand.
me rephrase it. Leave about the better. Which is effective, do you think? You should have multitasked at point of times and you have single tasked. Which is effective? Is it single tasking or multitasking?
Don't you think it depends on the... Yep. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, finish speaking, Renu.
Yeah, I think it depends on the person also. If the person is talented enough to do 2 or 3 jobs at a time perfectly, that's fine. I mean, it depends from person to person. One person can't focus too many jobs at a time. One person can do. So it depends from person to person. Of course, better is multitasking for me. Effective, it depends on the person's expertise skills.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Ayaradika.
I felt apart from what Renu said, I feel sometimes it is also the situation and sometimes the surroundings which makes you sometimes multitasking is better and single tasking. It depends from situation also.
Okay.
Yeah, I think situation also plays a major role.
Okay. Let's see the science behind this multitasking and single tasking. So when you use given that you are not dissipating your energy in any other channels, you use 100% of your energy in one task. If you are doing 2 tasks, then there is a wastage of brain power because you are not using the whole capacity of the brain for a single task. And when you break the task, there will be switches that happen between your signals. And in the midst of that, there will be a wasted brain power, which is proven scientifically also. So leave about our surroundings that are demanding to do it or not. But why I have brought this point is, in this shloka, he says that karmanyeva adhikaraste ma paleshu kadachana ma karma pala heturbuhu mate sangostva karmani. Karmani is a singular in Sanskrit. Karmani is actions. Here also he emphasizes clearly to do a single action. That's why he told in your action, which the takeaway is it is effective. The more effectiveness comes when you do a single task at a time. And if you go and see the research also, it is proven that multitasking actually reduces your effectiveness of your brain usage. So perform one action at a time to gain concentration in action. This is the preaching of Lord Krishna in this verse. And even it is now being said, single tasking is the new multitasking. So this is just to keep in mind. If you have a choice to do single tasking, go for a single tasking because you can be more effective in that. If the situation demands, yeah, we have to adapt to what our situation demands. And I know we always prefer multitasking because we have tasks, more tasks to do than more time we have in our hand. Is it okay? Got this point?
Yes, Abhi.
Yeah. So it's not just in the scientific things, but even at that time, he had implicitly implied, Lord Krishna has implicitly implied to do a single tasking. And he said, how not to be attached to the fruits of the action. So how can we act without a motive or a desire for the results of the action? For that, we will learn in Karma Yoga that we have to perform something called Nishkamya Karma. Nishkamya Karma is not to have attachment to the results of the action. So in English, we can call it as disinterested action. Disinterested action doesn't mean you don't like to act, but you like to act, but you are not worried about the results. Uninterested action is an action where you don't have interest in acting itself. So how can we act without a motive? By detaching from the results of the action or by performing disinterested action. And how to deal with the results of the action? Normally, any action has dualities. We get two results at physical level, mental level, or intellectual level. One could be, to put it in a very simple terms, it could be pleasant or it could be unpleasant. So what do we do when we have a result which is pleasant? We can just share the joy with others because you're joyful, you're happy. Share the joy with others, which makes you happy, and even the surrounding people also happy. When it is unpleasant, what shall we do? Have a spiritual attitude. What do we mean by having a spiritual attitude? It is having the attitude of titiksha. We have learned matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkadaha agama paino nityaha tam titikshastva bharata. He has already told Arjuna how to display titiksha. You be patient, happily for all the situations that is happening, because everything is a phase. Everything will not stay for a longer time. So don't have a negative feeling within you, but have a spiritual attitude within you. Remember the philosophy that even this phase will pass away. What is the advantage of having this kind of spiritual attitude? One, you will not create negative vibrations at your cellular level, meaning your energy levels would be positive, still positive. When your energy levels are positive and you vibrate with positivity, you don't affect the surroundings. Whereas if you have an unpleasant result of an action and you start feeling unpleasant about that particular result, your surroundings also get affected by the vibrations that you internally possess. You might not verbally communicate it, but just because you possess that vibration internally, that will affect your whole surroundings. So these two things is what is being prescribed. Every action has two results. It again goes into the dualities. The result could be pleasant for you or the result could be unpleasant for you. If the result is pleasant, share the joy with others. If the result is unpleasant, have a spiritual attitude. Invoke your shock absorbing capacity. Titiksha is the shock absorbing capacity. If you have developed the quality of titiksha, for every unpleasantness, your shock absorbers will work properly so that you will not suddenly get ups and downs. And how to deal with suffering? Suppose the result of the action created us a suffering. So when we follow the theory of karma, we have to totally believe or accept the fact that my actions, my results. I am responsible for my actions, and my actions produced results. So there was a choice of the actions. When we have this kind of attitude, what happens? We don't tend to blame others. There will be no blame game. And we will either try to analyze the situation, learn from the mistakes, or take some experience out of it. And also, suffering serves as a warning to be cautious about the current action. From the theory of karma, we have understood that we have something as destiny or the prarabdha, which comes in at the time of birth. So that part of credits or debits which we carry determine few events in our life. That events, not the current action, but it could be the result of your past action that created a suffering in the current life. So whenever such suffering comes, which was not actually the effect of your action, then it serves as a warning that we are suffering because of our past actions, which we are not aware of. The only thing that we have in hand is our current actions. So be cautious in making a choice about the current actions so that in future, you will not have the effect of the suffering. And it serves as an occasion to remember God. If you just think, what are the occasions that we remember God? Most of the times it happens that we tend to remember God only when we suffer, mostly when we suffer. That's when we strongly remember God, or we have a strong urge to remember God. So it, in one way, it also serves as a occasion to remember God. There is an incident that's quoted in Mahabharata. When Lord Krishna goes to Kunti and asks, what is the boon that you want from me? She says that, I don't want happiness. I don't want liberation. In life, I just want suffering, because it is only during that suffering I can always remember thee, meaning I can always remember God. So I am not asking for happiness, because once I become happy, I might not remember God. And I don't know about liberation. It's not I don't want, I don't know what is liberation, but I pray that I want suffering so that I will always remember God. So suffering is such a kind of event that will make, if you really believe in God. If people don't believe in God, that's a different story. But people who are believing in God will actually have a strong urge to remember God during the suffering. You can share if it's otherwise, but this is the general observations that is put up in the books.
Abhita, just a question. If some suffering is there because of some past karmas, past actions which I am not aware of, and then it is written that it serves as a warning, and then to be cautious in the current action. So what caution is to be taken in the current action? Then what should be my current action if the sufferings are, and I do not know what karmas of the past are responsible for those sufferings? That is the
So
question.
we can, yeah. So in one way, we can see that the sufferings are burning out of our past karmas if we clearly know that it is not the result of a present action. And in the second way, when we ask what is the caution that we can attribute in the current action, so taking that as a kind of happy thing, that we are exhausting all the sufferings that we have to undergo. And when you don't have that baggage that I am suffering, why like this, why not like this, you act in the way that with universal love and compassion. Don't interrupt your, or don't try to get mental agitations because of this suffering. That is what is the caution. When you are suffering, if you just go down, lose your mental temperaments, and when you are not emotionally balanced, you tend to act which is not again driven by your intellect. You tend to be more emotional in your actions. And we always have seen that your mind plays havoc when it comes to emotions. So the caution is that you always try to be balanced even in this situation. If you believe in the theory of karma, just think that your past karmas are burning out. If you don't want to believe in the theory of karma, there is nothing much that we can do in the current situation when we really don't know what is the cause of the suffering or why is it happening to us at that point of time. And only thing that these philosophies give us is a backup comfort. or a feeling that, okay, there is something called as our own karma. So it could have been that when you take the kind of responsibility of your actions, present or past, it will be more convincing for us to be mentally balanced. That is the only thing that you can achieve when you piggyback on the theory of karma.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So let me go to the next verse. Yogastah kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya Siddhya siddhyor samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. So he is again telling yogastha kuru karmani. Here he says actions. Karmani is actions. Karmani is single action. So he is saying kuru means do. So you do all your actions. How? Stabilized in yoga. Yogastha is stabilized in yoga. You perform all the actions in this world. How? Sangam tyaktva. Sangha is attachment. By giving away the attachment, Dhananjaya is again Arjuna. He is telling to Arjuna, without getting attached, you perform the actions established in yoga. And Siddhi, Asiddhi. He says Siddhya Siddhyor Samo Bhutva. Siddhi and Asiddhi is success, Asiddhi is failure. For both success and failure, Samo Bhutva have the same kind of treatment. We have seen that treat both the equations always, either accept both the equations or reject both equations. This again boils back to the verse where we said Sukha dukkhe same kritva labha labha jaya jaya. The same thing. So among all the aspects of dualities or the physical level, mental level and the intellectual level have the sameness in the way you look. Either you reject both sides or you accept both sides with the same attitude. So here he is saying the same thing. Siddhya siddhyor samo bhutva. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Finally, what is yoga? He said, do the things in yoga. So he is explaining what is yoga. He is saying yoga is nothing but samatvam. Samatvam is equanimity of mind, equipoise of mind, balanced state of mind. What is the balance he is talking about? Balance of mind in taking the results of your action. Both sides of the action, you take it with the sameness, mental equipoise. Then you will not suffer. So this is also a very important verse even for the definition of yoga. So one of the definitions of yoga, what is yoga is samatvam. This is samatvam yoga uchyate. So perform the work in this world as a man established in yoga without selfish attachments. And alike in success and defeat, for yoga is perfect evenness of mind. So Krishna tells Arjuna that he should act in yoga. And the same thing which I have told, so the attachment comes to the fruits of action. It's not to the action, but to the fruits of action. You can always act, you can have a goal, you can think, plan, but at the time of acting, don't get attached to the results of the action. And after acting, whenever you get, the previous verse says, don't get attached to the actions of the results of the action. And this verse, he's talking about the results. You get results, two possibilities in getting the result. It could be your siddhi or it could be your asiddhi. It could be a success to you. It could be a failure to you. So what is that you have to do? Treat both of them equally. With this, not equally, with the sameness of mind. Look it with the same lens. Don't put a different colored lens if it is success. Don't change the color of your lens if it is a failure. Use the same lens to see both. Then you will see that both are that phase which has to be accepted. Here is that we need to work with our goals. We have also seen that only when you have any kind of goal, that's when your intellect has something to keep a watch on your mind. If you don't have a goal, your intellect doesn't have any work, then your mind will take its turns for the sensual distractions in all ways it can. So what is important? To have a goal in our life, whatever it could be, but have a goal in life. So when we have a goal in life and we are working towards our goal, it will never be a red carpet, right? We will always have obstacles, and higher the goal, the higher the challenges, the bigger you want to do, the bigger you get obstructed in all walks of our life. It's very rare that you can see someone who has succeeded without any kind of struggles in any way. It could be, we cannot see the struggle in one way or the other. Struggles are operate at various levels. It could be financial, it could be mental, it could be circumstantial, it could be at many levels. For sure, there could be some struggle for everyone to come and be succeeded in reaching the goal. What is that we need to do? So whenever we get an obstacle, if we, first of all, don't panic. Have the right mindset. Yes, I have a goal. I will have obstacles in the way of my goal achievement. That is the first thing you need to set. Then your mind will not be shocked when you get an obstacle, because you have already decided or have trained your mind that obstacles are a part of goal achievement. You are sure to get obstacles. If the obstacle is smaller, a small jump is enough for you to go and reach your destination. If the obstacle is not very easy to jump over, then you have to turn it around, find a way that you can go over it. And if the obstacle doesn't seem to be moving at all, then we need to again display titiksha with an attitude that this is a temporary phase, and wait for the obstacle to clear. And once the obstacle is clear, you take the same route of your destination and reach the destination. The time differs depending upon the obstacle we get, but if you are really applying these formulas, it's sure that you will reach your destination. And why do we have these problems of mental agitations in not displaying the equanimity of mind? From our childhood, we are actually fed or developed with likes and dislikes. As a child, starting from a child, we will start entertaining in our mind. I like this, I don't like this, I want this, I don't want this. And this one gets fed up. Oh, you like this? Okay, I'll buy you only this. You have only this. You don't like that? Okay, fine. You don't eat that. You don't eat that at all. So our likes and dislikes get fed initially by our parents. It will be nurtured. And after that, friends, there will be a strong kind of nurturing and feeding happening to our likes and dislikes, and they become a part of your mind to play itself. That continues with the next parts of our life as well. When we enter the married life, when we enter the life of parenting, dislikes and dislikes get nurtured, and not only nurtured, but we also play a role in nurturing the likes and dislikes of the people who come across with. And because of this strong likes and dislikes in our mind, that's when it cannot take the results of the action in the same way, because our likes and dislikes are so much fed and they're so much stronger. Something happens which is against your like, your mind will never be ready to accept it. And same thing, if something happens which is as per your liking, you will be so elated and joyful. But what we have to learn here is not to be elated too much or not to be depressed so much. Take both sides of it in a mental equipoise, in a mental state of mind, which will actually lead you to a better mental states for the rest of your life. Any questions in this? For me personally, I like this Ganges example very much, because to explain anyone, any person, it's very easy to explain how a river makes a way to the ocean. The path, how a river flows from a place to top of a mountain to a sea, is not an easy thing. The persistence, the perseverance it has, the resilience it has, is something that we have to take note of and try to implement it in our daily lives as well. It never stops from reaching its goal. Whatever obstacle comes, it keeps on fighting. It doesn't stop. It doesn't give up and just sit depressed, as how now Arjuna is sitting, that I'm not going to go and fight the battle. So the definition of yoga given in this shloka is to concentrate the mind upon the Supreme by controlling the ever-disturbing senses, and it's the mental state of equipoise. Here, when we say the Supreme, we can even understand it as any kind of goal or ideal, any kind of goal-oriented actions. That's why we always emphasize goal, 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 because it is what makes an intellect a single pointed. If you don't have a goal, your intellect will not have anything to direct your mind upon. So with this verse, Krishna starts teaching the subject of Nishkamya Karma, which is acting in a way where he has to see both sides of the coin equally. And if you do like that, every action of yours turns into a karma, becomes karma yoga. How does a karma becomes yoga? When you do it in the spirit of, one of the principles given here is having the balanced state of mind. So when you do your actions with a balanced state of mind to the outcome of the results of the action, then your karma becomes karma yoga and you become karma yogi. So we can aspire for good, we can put in our best efforts and success is assured. We can aim for the best, put in the best efforts, but also at the same time be prepared for the worst. This preparation gives us a lot of advantage in the way that whenever an obstacle is, when you look at an obstacle or when an obstacle comes in the path of your action, you will not, your mind will not go for a shock. It will, because you have already set it, it knows it might happen. There is a possibility of the obstacle. So it will be prepared for it and will not completely get dejected or get depressed as what to do next. When you are prepared for the worst, you will always have the backup plans. That's the SWOT analysis that we perform. So whenever you are preparing for the worst, you will always know, okay, the worst can happen. So if the worst happen, what is that I will do will also be in your mind. Is it true or not?
Yes, it is true.
Yeah, correct.
So equanimity out of understanding will ensure that reactions are always balanced. This is very important. Equanimity out of understanding. Equanimity should arise from one's wisdom and understanding, but not from inertia or stupidity. What does it mean? When we say equanimity is arising from inertia, which is not understanding. Suppose I have a fever of 1 or 2 degrees for 3 days. I just say I have to be balanced at this point of time. I should not, even the suffering comes, I should not take it in any way, because I have to be equanimous. I have to be in balanced state of mind. So I am not even going to doctor and just sitting here. So that is not the equanimity that is coming from wisdom. That is an equanimity that I am trying to take it from my inertia, not going and taking a proper step of going either to a hospital or taking proper medicine. I am just telling to myself that I should be in a balanced state of mind. And that is not the right way of looking at equanimity. And the second one is equanimity arising out of stupidity. Meaning if you have, there is a boy who can hold 5 kgs of bricks in his hand, but he thinks to himself that he need to be balanced in every situation. Someone tries to put 8 kg in his hand, just because he has to be balanced, he will not say anything or will not let go of anything and just holds it. And finally, at some point of time, some injury happens to his hand. So this is not the kind of equanimity that Lord Krishna is expecting us to do. We should not be stupid. We should not have inertia, meaning we should not come into tamas, and also we should not be impractical. Be practical, understand the situation, apply your intellect, and then be equanimous. So inertia here means not thinking or doing something without applying any discrimination. You are not using your intellect and giving equanimity. Stupidity means flawed thinking. So the equanimity born from knowledge is the ultimate one, which leads to composure of mind. If it is born from other factors without discrimination, it will still make you agitated. That equanimity will never give you peace or balance of mind. So let me also complete this verse. Durena yavaram karma buddhiyoga dhananjaya buddhau sharanamanvicha krupana falahetavaha. So he's saying, Durena yavaram karma. The work, or we have seen before a video where he explains what is a labor and what is work. So intelligent action is the work, and it's not the whatever we are doing normally without applying our intelligence, like the sweat and thing that we get out of the hard work is considered as a normal labor, which we don't use our intellect and do. So such kind of activities which are based on desires and done with the toiling of our human bodies, that is not an inferior action. Sorry, that is not a superior action, that is an inferior action. So he's saying you do your actions in Buddhi Yoga, which is nothing but Karma Yoga. So you don't do it as a labored action, but do your actions in the spirit of Buddhi Yoga, which is nothing but a Karma Yoga, the attitude that we have talked now. And he's saying Buddhaus Sharanam Anvicha. So take the refuge in this Buddhi Yoga. And Krupana Falahetavaha. And whoever doesn't take a refuge in this principle of Karma Yoga, or the proper attitude of doing the action, such people are called as Kripana is misers. So such people are called misers. So we will see the video. So any questions? I'll continue from the next verse in the next class. Any sharings or any questions?
Abhita, I have not a question or a doubt, but just a thought. See, all the attributes what we are discussing, why all are compared with the heavenly bodies, sun, river, Ganges, and we are all just the human beings, right? How can we get something from them? They don't have any limits. They are like gods. We are just human beings.
That's what to tell you, that we are more divine. We are not just human beings. We have that quality. We have that divinity within us. And God is not something separate from, or it's a special thing that we are doing. When we see tailing of Ganges, it's not to take in the thing of God, but it is to take in the form of a river. It is to just from the natural things like earth, sun, river and all, to learn and understand and take the qualities from them. Because we are now in such a fast-paced materialistic world, it feels that we are totally separate from what we can do, or it seems that it's merely impractical and impossible for us to adapt this kind of preachings. But that's not the truth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the nature of river is to just flow. It will flow. But our nature is not that, right? We have a lot of attachments. We have a lot of constraints,
that is the nature
situations.
that we created. That is not our real nature. Okay. Our real nature is, that's what we're saying. We have deviated from our real nature in all the three levels: physical, mental, and spiritual. And yoga is the union of our deviated personalities to the natural personalities. Physically, if you talk about yoga, yoga brings about an union of ill health to a well health. Mentally, it brings from an union of unhappiness to happiness, and spiritually to the union from individuality to the divinity. So that is what we have to do yoga, in the sense we have to go back to our real nature. So thinking that this is our real nature is not right, because that's not the truth. This is all what we developed in our course of the journey of our life.
Yeah. Okay, Abhita. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question, Renu. Yeah, even I had that thing in mind. So why are we getting compared to the natures? Yeah. And one more doubt from my side, Abhita. Like we talked about likes and dislikes, right? So even we are like to the next generation, even we are inculcating the same thing. Even
we are feeding. That's what I told. We are feeding them.
So how whenever I start telling like that, how can I minimize that? I'm not sure, because that comes out like by nature, it comes out.
That's why you have to bring the consciousness again in our actions. This is all possible when you do a conscious action. See, when you have to change, You have to be conscious, because this is a very, very, very minute process that happens in a split second. Unless you are very mindful and very, very much determined to change yourself, you cannot, because the rewiring or the programming of a subconscious mind is so, so strong.
Yeah.
Because that comes naturally. That's what now what we feel is, this is what is my nature. This comes naturally to me. But to understand the truth and work towards the real nature is really a battle. But you understand, right? When you feed on, going on feeding the likes and dislikes, that's when your agitations also become more and more. If you change the perspective for kids, that the dualities has to be accepted, life has to be accepted, both has to be seen in a same manner. It's okay. Sometimes this happens, sometimes that happen. Even in the food, that's why when I make to the kids also, everyone doesn't like the same thing. But I just try to balance by saying that it's not about liking. If you don't like, eat more. If you don't like, at least you have to eat one. You should not develop the attitude that I will not eat if I don't like.
Okay.
And if you don't encourage it at home, first time, second time, third time, they might not eat it. But you are not trying to encourage it by making them whatever they like. If you just go make, oh, she didn't eat or he didn't eat, so I'm going to cook a separate dish for him because he's hungry, he or she will never learn. Because when they go out to the world, everything will not be a red carpet, or everyone will not treat them in the same way, or they might not get the same kind of treatment that they are getting in the house. Yeah. So it's up to the child to listen or not. But what I'm saying is, as a parent, we can work not encouraging that aspect, so that they will understand at least, okay, I have to accept the fact that today only this is available, whether I have to starve or I can eat a little and be okay with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gita.
Any other questions?
Yeah, it was good. And on the question of that why we compare, give example of gods and heavenly bodies. So my take is that we are a part of God only, because He's Paramatma and we are Atma. And ultimately,
Yeah, that's what I
is
said.
moksha?
We are individuality.
Yeah. And what is moksha is that when we are completely surrendered and we do not come into this life cycle of life and birth and death again and again. So that's why we have to achieve that goal. That is the perfect example is of God and the heavenly bodies, which like son you had told that he does his duty and without any change or without any, and we have deviated after coming to this earth. We have deviated in this world. Yeah, so that's why we compare with the heavenly bodies or God.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Got it.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and also it is said that the 5 elements, the Panchabhutas, actually our body is also made up of for the same Panchabhutas, like the way that's the reason we consume water, and the food that we consume comes from soil. And water in terms of like, it's called like blood circulation, right? Blood we have, which is compared to water. I mean, liquid format. I mean, not water as such, like in a liquid. And the heat that we have, the energy is actually, the sky is actually compared to the energy, right? So I think we have these 5 elements in our body.
Yeah, Lakshmi. So that's why we say we are a miniature universe. They say et pinde tat brahmande. We are nothing but the replica of the entire universe. The whole solar system, the whole universe is within this human body.
True. Actually, I just want to share one more thing. I just did this sometime back in one of the training, like when we were explaining when that river of Ganges, right? How we flow, even when there are multiple obstacles. So they asked us to actually draw the river of our life. So from the childhood, right, like to so far, like in our living, we might have actually faced so many obstacles as well. The same way it is actually explained in that video. Just to see that, I mean, maybe we actually forget many times that we have actually crossed so many obstacles in life, and we are here probably like just maybe there could be one obstacle which might we feel that its entire life is gone, but once we look back, probably we see that we had faced similar things, and probably based on the situations or environment at that time, we unknowingly crossed them. I think that one thing actually helps in when we look back. Actually, that helps actually for us to get that hope, and it's still we have or like we have that strength and capability to move forward.